What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live, late night edition, as we're coming to you live on a Thursday night instead of a Friday, because today the NBA finally officially put in place its return to play format. 22 teams will be playing in Orlando. It will be a 16-team playoff, and it will be decided between two different conferences. It's not going to be a 1 through 16 conference as we expected before. I thought they were actually going to go forward with a 1 through 16 for this year, just because every team was going to be in the same location, but they're not doing that. They're keeping it 1 through 8, so the playoffs should look exactly the same, other than the fact that they're going to be playing in Orlando in front of basically nobody. But the play-in, to give teams a chance to play into the NBA playoffs, is definitely a little bit different than a normal season. You got 8 teams that are on the outside looking in that are invited to Orlando, teams 15 through 22 basically. 4 of those are from the Western Conference. You have actually it's 5. You have the Portland Trailblazers, San Antonio Spurs, Sacramento Kings, New Orleans Pelicans, and Phoenix Suns, 9th through 13th there. In the Eastern Conference, you only have 1 team on the outside looking in that has been invited to play to get a chance to make the playoffs, and that is the Washington Wizards. We'll discuss each team's kind of scenario and their chances at possibly playing their way into the playoffs. But basically how it's going to work, you have the Memphis Grizzlies and the Orlando Magic as the current 8 seeds. After this 8 games, which are going to be played amongst all teams involved in this format, all 22 teams. It's not just going to be Blazers playing teams around them. They could end up playing the Raptors or the Celtics. They haven't released the schedule yet, but it's not going to be limited to groups or anything. So it will be interesting to see what the schedule looks like. But if the 9th seed is within 4 games of the 8th seed, then there will be a play-in game or 2 play-in games to decide who makes the playoffs, the 8th place team or the 9th place team. The 9th place team basically has to beat the 8th place team twice in a row in order to make it into the playoffs, which makes this a very tough format. So that is the rundown of the NBA's return to play format, in case you haven't quite dissected it yet, or if you've been busy all day. There is your breakdown. And first, I'm just going to give my honest thoughts on this, then I want to hear what Eric has to say about this. I absolutely hate this return to play format. I honestly do. I thought the NBA could have gone with a number of different things that would have been better than this. You have 8 games being played between teams 15th through 22nd just to get a chance to play in as the 9th seed. So if you're looking at the Western Conference, you got 5 teams on the outside looking in. Only one of those teams is going to be able to get a chance to play into the NBA playoffs. And they have to win twice in order to make the NBA playoffs. The thing is, the Grizzlies were ahead 3.5 games. With 16 games left in their season, they had one of the hardest schedules in the league. The Portland Trailblazers had one of the easiest schedules in the league. Portland Trailblazers definitely could have made up that 3.5 game deficit over the course of 16, 17 games. Now the problem is the Portland Trailblazers would have to make up that deficit in 8 games, which is pretty much all but impossible. If the Blazers end up playing the Grizzlies twice, maybe they have a chance. They did have the Grizzlies twice on the remaining schedule. That's why it's going to be interesting to see what the NBA does with the remaining schedule. But the only way the Blazers can get into a good position is to go and get that 8th seed, because as the 9th seed, to win 2 games in a row, that's going to be very, very tough. But honestly, it looks like that is by far the most likely path the Portland Trailblazers are going to have to take, because it's going to be very, very hard for them to get the 8th seed. So part of this is a little bit biased. The Blazers, obviously I want them to make the playoffs, but it's just a much, much harder road than they otherwise would have had. I thought they should have made the play-in format and structured it in a way to kind of resemble what the last 16 games would have been like. If you cut it from 16 games to 8, cut the team's leads in half. The Grizzlies were 3.5 games up. Make them only 2 games up. It's just in this scenario, you basically have 5 Western Conference teams battling for the right to get the chance to beat the Grizzlies twice in a row to make the playoffs. It just seems like not really much of a chance for any team outside of Memphis, even though I do think that a team definitely could pull it off. So I'm just not a fan of this format. The other thing I'm not a fan of is that lottery positions are basically locked. So if the Blazers lost all their games, they'd still only be 14th in the lottery unless a team beat out Memphis. Then Memphis would be 14th and Portland would be 13th. But basically, there's no tanking involved here for Portland because they can't get a better pick. So they're locked into like 13 or 14 at this point, or they can make the playoffs. So that's a big bummer, and I thought that was stupid. That didn't really make much sense to me. So I'm just not a fan of this format. So I've been talking for a while. Now it's Eric's turn. I'm curious to hear what you think, man.
Well, right off the bat, I want to ask you a question.
All right.
Would you rather have this format or just go right to the playoffs?
I mean, I'd rather have this format as a Blazer fan to get to be able to watch some Blazer basketball, to get to be able to watch Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins, but it's like, it's such a tall task. First, you got to beat out those 5 teams, which is going to be tough. And then that's just so you get 2 games in a row against the Grizzlies, because the Grizzlies are 3.5 games back with 8 games left now instead of 16, and the Grizzlies might not have a hard schedule anymore like they otherwise would have had if they played out the rest of the season. So
and then you have to play the Lakers after.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I thought they could have done something. I don't know. This whole situation, I thought they could have done a lot of fun, different things that they wouldn't normally be able to do, and they didn't shoot for it, like the 1 through 16 and maybe a group stage plan or just something. Going with this is just a lame to me.
See, I don't like it either, but I'm prefacing it by saying, like, I felt like we would have been pissed if we didn't have a chance. If we only played 5 games, if they brought back all the teams, and there wasn't a mathematical chance. So, like, the fact that they gave us and some of the teams that were mathematically still alive a chance to do it, I can't really complain about that, because they could have easily just gone to the playoffs and said, screw anyone who's behind right now.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that they gave us a chance. I understand why the Blazers voted no. In case you guys didn't hear, the Blazers were the only team that voted against this format. It turned out they liked a 20-team format, which wouldn't have included the Suns and Wizards, and made it like a soccer-style group stage World Cup. And then they also were not high on having the lottery be fixed, because that means that they, like you said, if they don't make the playoffs, they kind of screw themselves with the lottery. And it's going to be, I feel like they're the best team right now, healthy. Obviously Hood's not playing, but everyone else should be ready to go. I feel like out of all those teams that are grouped together, they have the best chance of upsetting Memphis and getting into that 8th seed. But yeah, when they decided to do it by conference and not seed them 1 through 16, it kind of messed things up a little bit, because I think it would have been more fair to have Orlando and Brooklyn be a little more threatened for their spot as well.
Yeah, especially because you look at Orlando and Brooklyn, they have losing records, but they're still in the playoffs in the East. But they have losing records in the East. If you put those teams in the West, I'm not sure that they would be ahead of Portland, San Antonio, Sacramento, teams like that. I think Orlando and Brooklyn would be behind this gaggle of teams in the West, which is part of the reason why it made sense to do 1 through 16. I just don't understand why they didn't do 1 through 16. That was the absolutely perfect time to do it. Best time possible to do 1 through 16. You don't have the travel issues, and the season is already messed up, so switch up the format. You know, it's already a messed up season. It's not going against the grain in anything, since this whole situation is against the grain. But they didn't go 1 through 16. And you know what that says? They're not going to go 1 through 16. They're not going to seed teams 1 through 16 anytime over the next decade at least. That's what that says to me. As long as Silver is in charge, now was such the perfect time to do it, and they still didn't do it, then it's not going to be on the table in future years. And if it is, then that makes so little sense that I don't know how to justify that, because if you don't do it now, but then you do it in future years, when traveling is an issue and when you're going against the grain of a normal season, that just makes no sense. So I'm assuming based off this, that's not something that they're going to consider over the next few years. I just wish they considered it this year and actually went through with it.
So I don't know if you saw, but most people are speculating that they just are going to play, for the most part. It doesn't work out perfectly, so they're going to have to figure out something with the last couple games. But you'll just play the rest of your normal schedule minus the teams that aren't there. So like if the Blazers were going to play the Knicks, they would just move on to the next game, which means they would play Memphis first, and then here I'll try to get their exact schedule.
So would they like not necessarily play 8 games? Like one team might play 12 or something like that? Or?
No. So they wouldn't play all their games, just the first 8. But that kind of screws the Blazers.
That's because so stupid. What
the Blazers, when you remove all those easy games, they go from one of the worst or one of the easiest schedules to one of the toughest. But it's kind of unfair because like everyone's going to have a tough schedule except for teams that get to play like the Wizards and Suns a bunch of times. That's probably not going to be fair. But so the Blazers have the Blazers would have they cut the site I'm on has their schedule erased for the rest of the season. Let me try something else.
Yeah, I gotta find something else. Why you do that, man? What they should have done is just made it an automatic win for the team. You know, if you were playing a team that wasn't involved, they should have just made that an automatic win. And then you play out the rest of the entire schedule. So one team might play 12, 13 games. They're talking about finishing in early October. Like, they could have, if they resumed by July 15th, they could have played out the entirety of the regular season and then the playoffs and finished by October 12th, which is rumored to be the last possible date for Game 7 of the finals. If you remove the bad teams from those team schedules, you should be able to kind of fit something in starting in late July. So, like, it would have, what that would have done is it would have kept the strength of schedule. It would have balanced it out in the end because Memphis has had the privilege of not facing a lot of really tough teams. They faced a lot of easy teams throughout their season. The Blazers is the opposite. They've had to play a lot of tough teams, a lot of really good teams, and haven't had the privilege of having a very easy late season schedule like they were set to have. So if you gave automatic wins for those teams that aren't involved and you had to play the teams that were involved in this 22 team schedule, it would have balanced things out and would have made things a lot more fair, and it could have worked. And I don't know. They just completely botched this, in my opinion.
Okay, I got the schedule. So we would play Memphis, Houston, skip Minnesota, then we play Dallas as our third game, skip Minnesota, skip Charlotte, skip Detroit, then we play Boston, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Utah. So that's 7 games. Our next game is against Memphis again, which would be our 8 games. But the problem is that would be Memphis's like 12th game. So because they play every game they play is pretty much against one of these teams anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do if they're. But then the weird part is if we play Memphis twice and we get in the playing game against them, then we end up playing them 4 times in 12 games. So
no, that'd be 4 times in 10 games for us because we play 8.
10 games. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why they should have just done it where you play the teams, you know, if Memphis has to play 13 games to play the teams that are involved in this 22, they play 13 games. It would even out the schedule and you wouldn't have that question mark of, okay, how do they divvy this up into 8 games remaining? Also, they're 3.5 games ahead of us, so it's not like we can even tie them if we each play 8 games, so it comes out uneven. Like, they I don't know, man. Well, NBA should hire me and let me come up with these ideas because they just botched this.
I tried to figure out the answer to this, but what happens if there's like 3 or 4 teams within 4 games? Because it's entirely possible Memphis loses like a bunch of games, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone else goes like 500 or something, and you have like all the teams that are fighting in the West within 4 games of each other. I mean, it's not that out of the realm of possibility. I wonder what would happen. Like, because then do you do like an expanded play-in where you have to win twice against the higher seed, or like what happens then?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I assume it'd just be whatever team got 9th, based off tiebreakers, which right now we are in 9th. So the thing is, I think we're tied, but I think we've played 2 more games than some other teams. Let me look it up right now. Because we're 29 and 37. New Orleans and Sacramento are 28 and 36. So, like, in terms of games behind, they're tied, but our winning percentage is 0.001% higher because we played 2 more games than them and split those. So, we went 500 over an extra 2 games. So, even though, all these teams are 8 games under 500 and the same amount of games behind, we actually have the advantage there because we've played 2 more games, which is nice, but it doesn't really make much sense. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make much sense in the end. It's just, you can't resume the season with how things were unbalanced when we stopped. You have to, like, balance things back out in the end. The thing is, to balance things back out, you can't have just 8 games for every team.
Well, that goes back to another question. Would you rather have the Blazers play? Well, I guess that would work out in Blazers' favor if they had to play less games against good teams. But if the Blazers were like 2 games behind another team, would you rather them have to play 2 tough games just to balance the schedule, or would you rather just have them go by winning percentage?
I mean, like, obviously, the Blazers have been screwed over so much that, like, if the Blazers have an unfair advantage, like, I'm down for that. You know what I mean? Because they've been screwed over all season. But logically, removing the bias, like, it should just be formatted in a way that makes sense for everybody. It just doesn't make sense for everybody, It just doesn't make sense in the end. It doesn't. They could have done a better job of structuring this format.
We still have Mike's Utah Jazz game again, like, working against us too. That one game, that better not be the difference.
The thing is, can't even blame that considering how many games we've dropped to terrible teams.
No, I know, but
no, I know, I get what you're saying, but it's just like, part of this is like, I'm sitting here complaining about the way they formatted this, but we shouldn't be in this position in the first place. We shouldn't be 3.5 games below Memphis. There's so many games that were just inexcusable losses that brought us to this point. Like, honestly, if we play Memphis twice, we're going to play them at least once. If we're only 2.5 games back with 8 left, we win them. We're 1.5 game back with over 7 other games. Like, there would be a much higher chance of actually getting the 8th seed and getting the better spot in this play-in compared to being where we are right now, which is 3.5 games back. Like, 1 game at the end of the year makes a huge difference. That's why I get super frustrated with inexcusable losses at the start of the season. Everybody's saying, oh, it's only game 5. It's only game 5. Yeah, well, game 5, game 6, game 7, game 8, like, 1 game is a major difference at the end of the season. And in this format, like, you could easily find 2 games on the schedule we had no business losing. If we were 1.5 games back and played Memphis once, maybe twice, like, we would control our own destiny. You know what I mean? Like, there were so many inexcusable losses this season that just got downplayed that just I don't agree with. I don't agree with them being downplayed, and we shouldn't be in this position in the first place, which is frustrating that now we have to worry about, like, okay, how exactly did they format this? We're going to have to play Memphis twice and beat them twice in a row to get in. Like, I don't know.
But if we were to switch with Memphis right now, we would be saying it's bullshit that we have to play a play-in game, right? I probably feel that way. I
would be saying that they should have just finished the entire regular season instead.
Yeah, I mean, that was always my vote too. But I'm just saying,
honestly, I don't know if I'd be saying that because given the schedules, given like the Blazers getting healthy, if this was a different team that made the Western Conference Finals the year before that was getting healthy, like, honestly, like, the Grizzlies have a better chance of making the Final 8 now than they did before. And I think, like, if we were Grizzlies fans, but we weren't being biased and we were just, like, looking at it and calling it how it is, Grizzly fans can't complain about, like, if they deserve to be in the playoffs, then they shouldn't lose 2 games in a row to the same team to make it in. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't really know many Grizzly fans. I don't really interact with any of them. I don't know what they were saying today.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to get on Twitter. I've been working all day. Why's my computer freezing up right now?
It's lagging, yeah.
It was not like the internet. It was my computer. It was actually my computer. But Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, the Grizzlies have a better chance of making the playoffs now than they did before. I thought the Grizzlies had maybe a 50-50 chance of making the playoffs before this. Now they have probably a 75% chance of making the playoffs. 70. They're going to have to. Depends. I don't know. If each game is a coin flip, then they have a 75% chance. Each playing game.
I'm feeling pretty confident about the Blazers' chances.
Yeah, but Stotts will just find a way to screw it up in one of those playing games, and that'll be it, man.
That's true. I just think we have too many good players if we're healthy to.
Yeah, I don't know. We were 29 and 37 team, and yeah, Nurkic and Collins are important, but it's not just going to automatically catapult us into like a contending level team. And honestly, even a good team, it's still going to be tough to beat Memphis 2 games in a row.
I don't know, man. Dame, CJ, Ariza, Nurk, and Collins. That's a pretty solid lineup.
Yeah, if Ariza doesn't go back to shooting 35% from 3, that's kind of something I'm worried about with his age.
I hope everyone's been keeping in shape and stuff. The cool thing is, I mean, we have 8 games now to see if Whiteside and Nurk can coexist on the same roster and how that looks and how Collins' role will be. If we should keep Melo as like a backup power forward next year, scorer off the bench.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of options to see how that would all work out. It's better to have 8 games than none at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope they play Whiteside and Nurkic together just so the fans that think that'd be a good idea can realize how that wouldn't fit together on the basketball court. I mean, it'll be nice to like have some things.
Don't do that against Memphis, please.
It'll be nice to be able to discuss basketball, though. You know what I mean? To be able to like, oh, why the hell are we doing this? That'll be fun to say. Even though we got to the point in the season that I was just like constantly frustrated with this year because this year was such a mess. I'll be happy to get frustrated. I don't know. I might do some film breakdowns and stuff for these 8 games just because it's only 8 games. I mean, well, maybe 10, maybe more. I don't know. But it would be cool to actually do some film breakdowns and stuff. I don't know. We'll have to we're gonna get back into there's gonna be betting, so we're gonna finish out picks against the spread. That'll be fun. Might have to roll into playoffs. I don't know. But stuff's just gonna kind of sort of get back to normal. So that'll be cool. The thing is, the one thing that I do like is that for the next starting in late July, we don't get a break from covering basketball for like a year, man. We don't.
It's like a year and a half.
Yeah, like I don't know when the 2020 to 2021 season is going to end, but they're saying starting on December 1st, which means it would end like late July. I assume like summer, like draft would be right after, free agent would be right after, summer league would be right after. So like into August of 2021 and Olympics, and then if they move the 2021-2022 season to like back to the normal start time, that'd start in October. So like I guess September of 2021 would be like our only month-long break, or like between
like training camps.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Yeah, you're right. So we wouldn't get a break from covering basketball for almost like 2 years. So I guess all I have to say is like over the next month, Eric, just rest up because we're gonna go on a journey.
Did you see that week in October?
Oh, dude. I mean, like that's like a CBA nuts dream. You know what I mean? Like that's just gonna be hectic.
October 12th, finals game 7 possibly, if it goes that far. Yeah. October 15th, NBA draft. October 18th, free agency.
God, that's gonna be all insane. While the NFL's going on too.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, like we've been bored as hell for the past 3 months or so. But when this starts back up in the start of August, even if the Blazers bow out in 8 games, you should have the NFL right after that. Like sports are just going to be just like layered on extra. You know what I mean? we've gone sober here for like 3 months. We haven't been able to indulge ourselves in any sports for like 3 months. Now we're gonna get all the sports we could ever want, all the chaos you could ever want. Because that's the thing, like NBA Finals Game 7, October 12th, and then like free agency like runs to the start of November. You draft free agency, boom, 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 and then you only have a month until
you're back into training camps, yeah, and then December 1st start.
Yeah, like you go like right after free agency, you go back to training camp. Like, bro, like I'm honestly like when I saw this, I was just thinking like I was just trying to teleport myself to wherever the hell I am in October. You know what I mean? Maybe not, hopefully not in this room. Hopefully in the cool ass studio. But me just grinding in that studio because, like, draft content, free agency content, and season preview content, like, it's going to be so swamped with action over the next, over the fall. Because, like, some people say, oh, well, there's no basketball from early October to the start of December. But, like, for a content creator, a lot of my most viewed videos come during the offseason, come related to the draft and come related to free agency and trades around that time period. So like that's a very important time for me where a lot, obviously a lot of NBA fans are staying in tune with that and following free agency in the draft. But for a content creator like me, like that time is the most work making YouTube content because you have the most to gain, you have the most to really cover. Like, yeah, you cover game in, game out, but a lot of it's like same issues. Same thing, it's kind of the same routine. The off-season content is completely different, so that's going to be insane. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Just going to have some games to cover whether the Blazers make it or not. It'll be nice to actually talk about actual basketball.
Yeah, so let's tune in with chat here. What do you guys think, chat? We haven't really engaged with you guys, so I want to know what you guys think of the format. What would you grade this format? A, B, C, D, F. I grade this format a D. An F would have been just going straight to playoffs. I grade this format a D. I think this is about as bad as they possibly could have done. I mean, they maybe could have done 5. I don't know. A D minus would have been if they did 5 games and like the Blazers had to make up a 3.5 game deficit in 5 games and then didn't get a play in. That would have been, a D minus. This format's like a D plus in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it like a B minus just because they gave the Blazers a chance. And the Blazers were whining about having a chance, and they got their chance, so they can't really be too upset with the chance. It's better than 5 games and basically being mathematically eliminated. So, yeah.
I have an issue with people saying the Blazers were whining about this. The Blazers had a major chance to make the playoffs anyway, so pointing out that they should still have a chance, like a lot of NBA fans viewed Dame saying that as whiny or, you know what I mean? Like, that's not whining. That's just like we had a very solid chance of still making the playoffs beforehand, so we should still have a chance. If everything is going to be fair, if everything's going to be equal, obviously you got to change some things up with this format because they've wasted too much time getting to a point where they could play out the entirety of the regular season, and it's also, more people to monitor, more teams to monitor, so I also get that. But I don't know.
Bro, I don't know, dude. A lot's going to happen based on what's happening, around the world right now.
Yeah.
If there's another like spike or outbreak because of this, then I could see I don't know, it's going to be a long time to recover. But if there's no like spike and it doesn't happen, like maybe there's a small one, but it's not anything like super bad. Like there's no reason why they can't get back to having fans in the stands pretty quickly because there's more people out all together right now than would be in some of these stadiums. I watched a clip right before we came on air of Trae Young playing in a gym in Oklahoma City in the Skins League or whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. And the gym, like there's no stands, but the like whole perimeter of the gym is just packed with hundreds of people like standing there watching, all standing right next to each other. On my drive home tonight, I saw like 5 groups of over 100 people just like in different parking lots and hanging out at parks and different things. Like no one's really caring about, like people just declared it was over, I guess. And so it'll be interesting to see in a few weeks what happens.
It's gonna have a bigger second spike than first spike. Like, it's gonna get bad, man. It's gonna get bad. Like, people are getting too optimistic with this whole thing. I think like part of it is like people are getting distracted with like another very important real world issue, which is racial injustice and police brutality, which obviously, that's a very important thing for us as a country, and like it's something we gotta fix. Like, it's a very, very important issue to take head on, and I'm honestly I'm glad to see all the peaceful protests and how vocal a lot of people are being about it. But that's just going to make the coronavirus worse. And I feel like people aren't really like thinking of coronavirus anymore. I feel like people, like, this pandemic has just pushed into the back of our heads since all this has happened. And like, I don't know when the protests are going to die down, but once they do, I feel like at the same time, you're going to be having the second spike come, and people are going to be a little bit too naive to like handle it again. They're going to be tired of it. I don't feel like this is in a good spot at the moment. And I feel like it's going to be an issue this fall. I don't see any way it's not an issue this fall.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but Dame was out protesting tonight. Good for him.
Yep. I mean, wear a mask, a lot of those people are wearing masks, which is good.
I just don't think, like, if you're in a crowd with thousands of people protesting, you shouldn't be worried about playing an NBA game then, which I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying, like, I don't have any doubts about it working in Orlando.
I mean, the fans are a different argument. I don't think any chance this season. I think maybe start next season, hopefully. But like December 1st was a little bit earlier than I thought they were going to start next season. Thing is, man, though, is it's just like, if you have 20,000 people in a stadium and none of them have coronavirus, yeah, you're completely fine. You can do it. Everybody in that stadium can make out or something. I don't know. Like, it still wouldn't, there wouldn't be any danger because none of them have coronavirus. But if one of them has coronavirus, 100 of them could walk out with it. And then if you're having gatherings elsewhere, that could turn into 1,000 people having it. You know what I mean? Like, all it takes is one to spark just a hotspot and exponential growth. I mean, we saw it in Vancouver with like a food processing plant. That just started with one person, and it became like 150 infections just from Vancouver, just like that. We only had like 400 infections before this, and then all of a sudden, boom, like 150, just like that. You know what I mean? Like almost half of our infections, just boom.
They traced pretty much the whole outbreak in Italy to one soccer match.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that. I mean, I really hope it, like, everyone's fine and no one gets it. And man, if in a couple of weeks we don't have a spike, though, like, that's going to be pretty. I mean, it's hard to argue with just going back to somewhat normal after that, because like that many people gathered around each other and there was no spike. Like, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We're going to have to see how it plays
out. I mean, if we could get better treatment or something where, like, if people got it, then they wouldn't have to be in hospitals for that long, so you wouldn't really risk going over capacity for certain hospitals. And then also, if you have better treatment, you lower the mortality rate. Like, there's a way that we can get fans back in the stands without, like, a vaccine. It would take a couple different things happening, which I'm hopeful for, but, like, we just have to wait and see on it. Brian Scalabrine, of course you can express your own opinions. All I got to say is if your COVID-19 information is gathered from Clay Travis, no opinions. But if you get your information from somewhere else, yeah, you can share your opinion. And a lot of you probably won't understand who I'm talking about with that, but the guy I'm talking about, he knows I'm talking about him. Because why the hell would you get your pandemic information from Clay freaking Travis? God, man.
So Dizzy D asked when the draft lottery is. It's supposed to be August 25th. So I assume that's going to be like the playoffs will have started by then, and
Yeah,
we'll
should be
know
a summer.
who the teams that are in the lottery. But yeah, so
Isn't it
it's
normally
kind
during the
of weird.
first round, the draft lottery?
I thought it's during like the Western or one of the final, like the conference finals. I might be wrong about that, but
Yeah, Mike, Clay freaking Travis, talk show host on the radio at 4 a.m. in the morning, is just the most knowledgeable on a pandemic. That sports talk guy is just the most knowledgeable on this pandemic. You're right, bro. Come on, man. Don't even start up with that, because I'll just clown you, bro. Come on, man. Clay freaking Travis is your pandemic expert. I can't with that. That's
Ben,
ridiculous.
Ben Darling gets his info from Dan Orlovsky.
Like, you might as well, yeah. Shoot, try and call into Dan Orlovsky's show and get him to like give you like expert information on this pandemic. You might as well get it from Skip Bayless. You might as well get it like, God, man, Clay. I listened to Clay Travis, dude. Like, there's one point like usually I listen to 620 because there's some actual good radio sports talk shows on 620 other than Clay Travis, but I was driving when he was on and I just kind of like listened to 5 minutes. It was the most cancerous, horrible 5 minutes of talk radio I've ever heard, because he was talking about the pandemic and it was the cringiest, like, oh god, I shouldn't have even gotten me started on this, Mike. Oh man, I can't.
Yeah, I was obviously with like being isolated and stuff, like my sleep schedule is all messed up, so I end up like listening because I usually listen to 620 when I go to bed, and then as my bedtime got later and later, I was like, no, not Clay Travis, but yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, like the dude. I mean, forget about it, Mike. Don't even talk about this, man. Don't sit there with like you can't have an opinion, man. Your opinion is not based in any sort of thing that you should be basing an opinion on a pandemic on. Like, come on, man. It is literally just logical. So like, don't cut like you bro. No. Don't get your pandemic information from Clay Travis. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say on that. You should not be referencing him, bro. Every time you say this guy knows his stuff, I cringe. And I laugh a little bit on the side, but I cringe, man. Oh, don't listen to facts from Clay Travis, pandemic expert. Okay, man. Moving on. Thank you. All right.
So it's a little confusing with the lottery. We'll switch subjects here because so if you don't make the playoffs, it reverts back to your record before these 8 games. But if you make the playoffs, these 8 games count towards your draft positioning. So like the seeding and draft positioning of these playoff teams matter. Fortunately, there's because Trevin's been getting into it with OKC fans, or like everyone gets into it with OKC fans, right?
By OKC fans so much, you just gotta clown them.
But I saw this guy today talking about, oh, our future's so bright. We have like multiple picks in every draft. We can move up if our picks are late or whatever. But like right now, their pick would go to like Philadelphia or something, and our pick is going to be like in the mid-teens, whether we make the playoffs or not. Like I think the best case scenario would be like 17th probably, and then so we're going to have a pick like 8 higher than them because they have someone else's pick. I forgot, but it's like 25th right now, and so like it's Denver's pick. So like they don't have a better pick than us this year, and they only have one pick possibly. So like, I don't see how that's going to help them next year have a brighter future than us. But yeah,
I mean,
but apparently Baisley was picked in the 20s, and he's like a future cornerstone. But like all our picks in the 20s can't possibly be anything because they're picks in the 20s. Like that doesn't make sense.
I really liked Baisley in last year's draft.
Yeah,
and it absolutely, because like I was going to root for him just because it was like a guy who I thought was a sleeper, and then he got drafted by OKC. And now,
dude, I saw a video of him playing in that Skins League too, and he was killing it.
Basically.
Yeah.
God, I hope they trade him for something like that's only there for a year, and then Baisley like blows up somewhere else.
he was playing like exactly like how I thought he would play when he
I'm gonna have to watch it. You're gonna have to send me
he was
that because we were on
he
his
was
bandwagon.
he was always a long-term prospect. It's like it makes me mad too when people like I think this was Trevin too posted a video of someone saying that Zach Collins is a bust. It's like, dude, he was drafted as a long-term project. He's played 2 seasons and then was injured his whole 3rd season.
Yeah.
So like how can you label him a bust? Like he hasn't even like Baisley, you won't be able to judge him until towards the end of his rookie deal.
I mean, Baisley's just a guy who just needs to play with confidence. He played with no confidence this year, and it was just like it wasn't like he just wasn't talented enough to hang. He just played with like no confidence. He played scared as hell. So hopefully that's something he can fix. You know, you assume that's something he can fix. I mean, like hopefully I don't know. Hopefully that's something he doesn't fix because he's an Oklahoma City Thunder. But I like being right about my draft, sleepers.
But the thing about him though is like it's a weird situation because they obviously drafted him thinking they weren't going to be great this year, and then they become good, and then they still played him a little bit, but like he would have gotten a lot more playing time and developed a little more if he was if they were bad, not in the playoffs.
This year is not good for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The season that they've had this year decreases the chance that they win a championship in the next 12 years. Honestly. Like, that's just the facts, because they don't have a team that's built to last. Gallinari's a free agent. He's getting up there in age a little bit. He's actually kind of injury prone too, so who knows when he gets hurt again. Chris Paul, same deal, except that Chris Paul is on a very bad contract and he's getting up there in age, so he's already shown signs of decline. Outside of that, like, they got SGA. That's their only, like, blue chip young prospect. Other than that, as far as young talents, what do they got? Yeah, they got a lot of picks, but if it's all late first, then you can only really trade them up into the mid first, and you're probably not going to get, you might be able to land an SGA or a guy like that, but still, like, SGA might be an all-star someday. I see his ceiling as like a fringe all-star. OKC fans love that guy way too much. They overrate the hell out of him. You need a superstar. I don't see how they're going to get any guy that's like as good as Dame is. Unless they start being really, really bad. That's like the only way they can get a guy like that.
Well, the guy that Trevor was talking to, he just said he was talking about how they have other teams' picks, so it doesn't matter how good they are. But that's not true because they have the Clippers and the Rockets pick. So if they're good for that same duration of period as well, then it doesn't matter how like they'll never have a lottery pick. They'll be either a fringe playoff team and barely, at best, they'd get like a 10 to 15 pick if they didn't make the playoffs one year. So yeah.
But yeah, the Clippers and the Rockets both have a top 6 player that's locked up on a multi-year contract. There's no way those teams are going to be like one of the worst 10 teams in the league unless something happens like what happened with Golden State. But still, it's just, I don't know. Like, it was a good trade last year. Obviously, they had a great offseason last year, considering the circumstances, considering the position they were in, considering they're probably a little bit better than they now and have a lot more picks. So, like, I'm not, trashing that offseason, great offseason. But all these fans bragging about this year as if they're going to make it out of the first round when they're going to lose in the first round. And then what? What's the direction? Then do you try and win now? The thing is, you're not going to be able to get a superstar. So, what, and they need a superstar because they don't have a superstar. You need a superstar to win today's NBA. You need somebody at least as good as Dame. And they don't have that. So that's the thing. It's like they're bragging about winning games and whatnot, but it's not going to amount to anything for them. It's not going to amount to anything. The thing is, the Blazers next year, if they remain healthy, they're going to be better than the Thunder were this year, and the Thunder were last year, and the Thunder were the year before. So all these fans talking trash about this year is just kind of funny to me. That's why I don't even engage, because they don't really have like the mental fortitude to really project teams past, what they see right in front of their face. So they can't comprehend that, the Blazers were injured this year. They're missing Hood, Collins, Nurkic, multiple guys. Their roster could be better next year because these guys don't know the CBA. These guys don't know how rosters are actually constructed. The Blazers are going to be in a really good spot next year. Hopefully they can fix some of their issues that are kind of due to coaching, because I do think the coaching isn't the best. But like, I mean, we've talked about it before, and we'll talk about it again. The Blazers are set up to be in a very strong position going into this offseason, and it's going to be interesting to see over these 8 games, see how, like, a team with Collins, Nurkic, and Whiteside playing games looks like, because that's a good front court, big front court, shot blocking, great defensive front court.
And we've all obviously talked about Melo's flaws, but when you add a fourth like power forward to that mix who isn't necessarily a good defender but can come in and get buckets for you, like that's a good mix of players. I think I'm interested to see how that works, and if either Whiteside or Nurk get visibly frustrated any of these games, or like taking a back seat to one another when the other one's having a good game. But like the fact that we will always have a Nurk or a Whiteside on the floor, and we have Collins too to mix in there, like that's going to be pretty strong. So we'll basically always have either Dame or CJ and Nurk or Whiteside on the floor at all times. So like our pick and roll game is going to be strong. We're not going to have moments where like we're wondering how the heck we're going to get offense going. I'm just really excited to see it. Long term, I don't think it'll work out still with both Whiteside and Nurk on the same team, but like hopefully that doesn't manifest itself in these 8 games, because if it does, there's going to be problems, and we're not going to be able to re-sign Whiteside, because if they can't handle it for 8 games, they're not going to be able to handle it for a full season.
For 8 games, like they knew Nurkic was going to come back, even without the season. If the season kept going, Nurkic was set to come back within a week of the season being canceled. So if they can't make it work for 8 games and it makes Whiteside walk, then Neil Olshey just completely botched that situation, because if you have foresight at the trade deadline and you have an inkling that, okay, this might not work when Nurkic gets back and we might lose Whiteside for nothing, then you better get something for him. Honestly, even if it was just like a Gorgie Jang getting like a bad 2-year contract, that's a tradable asset they could have had this summer. That's a tradable asset they could have had next year. That was somebody that they could have had on the roster next year. So if it ends up in a situation where over these 8 games, Whiteside isn't happy and it ends up with Whiteside leaving in free agency, then I'm going to have a bone to pick with Olshey, because like we would have ended up not getting anything for a guy that we could have gotten something for. I know fans will say, oh, you don't know what was out there. We definitely could have gotten a bad 2-year contract, and people would have probably looked at that as a bad trade, but that was an asset that we could have used to match salary to maybe go get a LaMarcus Aldridge. Jang and minimal contracts for LaMarcus Aldridge is something that would work. Then I wouldn't be putting out videos like LaMarcus Aldridge will not be a trailblazer at the start of next season.
It's just a shame that I'm not saying it's a shame there was a pandemic, but like obviously I didn't want that to happen. But like if we would have known that the season would have been paused for 2 months, we could have traded Whiteside knowing that by then we'd have Nurk and Collins back, and it wouldn't have mattered come playoff time, because we would have had all our guys to cover for that. But
should have just traded him regardless.
Yeah.
But now since we didn't trade him, we got to keep him. It literally makes no sense to let him walk. What do you gain by letting him walk? Tell me, Gavin, what do you gain by letting him walk? I'm curious, because you don't gain anything by letting him walk.
And that's coming from 2 people that agree it's not going to necessarily work, but to have that trade asset. And besides, like Whiteside's not going to get big deals this offseason. I keep wanting to call it summer. It's obviously not going to be summer. I actually think that with the shortened offseason, there's probably going to be very little movement compared to the last few seasons. But yeah, I think guys like Whiteside, teams will want to just stay together because they didn't really get a proper shot. Like anyone who doesn't win the championship is going to feel slighted and want to run it back, And like I said, there's not going to be a lot of teams with space enough to sign Whiteside. And even if they did, I mean, Whiteside's like not a guy that teams are going to covet and offer a huge contract to. It's not like 2016 where the Lakers are just going to throw out 54 million for Timofey Mozgov or something. Like it's not going to happen this summer. So you keep those guys and then you have a tradable contract.
Yeah, the thing is, Gavin, you say we gain by not putting so much money into a player on the bench. The thing is, not signing Whiteside doesn't open up any more money for us to use in free agency. Either way, we're going to have a $10 million mid-level exception. Sure, we could maybe chase cap space, but then we'd have to cut Ariza too, which makes no sense just in order to have $10 million of cap space instead of a $10 million mid-level exception, because you don't get both the mid-level exception and cap space, so it makes no sense to chase $10 million in cap space when we could keep Whiteside, keep Ariza, and have a $10 million mid-level exception. So not spending money on Whiteside actually doesn't help us out at all, because it's not like we can use the mid-level exception and then use the money we saved on Whiteside on something else. It just doesn't work like that. So
he asked, do you actually think he fits into our plan? And the answer for me is no, but
short-term yes, long-term no. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But like, so you have two scenarios, right? Either it works out with him being a backup and he's fine, or, there's an injury or something and we need one of the two players to play and we're glad we have him, in which case he would still be a very tradable asset, right? Or you have the situation where it's just a dumpster fire and they are both complaining about playing time. They both want to be the man and start, and obviously one of them would be getting screwed in that situation. So you'd have a contract to trade, but if you don't have that contract, you have guys like Dame, CJ, Nurk, and maybe Ariza, and then you don't really have any other big contracts on your team to trade. So like if you're looking at trading for an asset next season even, if you don't re-sign Whiteside, you don't have contracts that you can move off your team and still have your core roster together. You'd have to talk then about trading a guy like CJ for multiple parts or something and hope the sum of the parts is better than the whole. And that just doesn't make for good team building.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a clear-cut path forward for our roster construction, I think. You keep Whiteside. You don't trade Ariza or you don't trade CJ for lesser players. We need more top end talent. So the only way you trade CJ is if you caught like a Chris Middleton or something. So I think this summer is pretty straightforward. I mean, like, dude, our top 8 going into the offseason, assuming we keep Whiteside, given everything that we've explained. And honestly, I'll get into like the possibility that Whiteside actually might not be a problem, because I do have a little bit of a theory. But like, just looking at our roster going into the offseason, you got Dame, CJ, Ariza, Collins, Nurkic as our starting 5. And then off the bench, you got Trent, who I really like now. You got Hood, and then you got Whiteside. That's a good like 6 through 8 guy. And then you got the $10 million mid-level exception to use, and you could also use the traded player exception on a guy like Bjelica by using our draft pick to trade for him if you want. You have options on top of that to add that 9th guy.
Yeah, so that would be an awesome 9-man rotation. I would put that up against most teams as long as everyone's healthy. But one thing I want you mentioned Hood. Mm-hmm. Having the season start later next year really helps us with Hood, because that gives him a full month and a half longer before he has to be ready to play next season.
Honestly,
and that
if we made the NBA Finals, he would possibly return for the Finals. Probably not, but he got hurt very early December.
Yeah.
The Finals are going to end in October 12th. So 10 months after that injury, I mean, like, he looks ahead of schedule just based on the clips that I've seen. Obviously, Nurkic looked good for a while before returning. But I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, I expect Hood to be ready at the start of next season. So that's a good like top 8, and then you got that 9th spot to fill.
I gotta address a couple chat things.
What's up?
Okay, first of all, People's Mix says maybe as a trade asset, but Miami had a rough time moving him. That's because he was on a max contract with Miami, and we talked about this all season about how, like, a guy like Drummond, he's making like $27 million. Teams don't need centers for $27 million unless you're like a Joel Embiid or Jokic level type player.
And it's hard to match that amount of salary too. So even if teams did want a guy like that, you have to match that salary. Some teams that would actually want Whiteside, maybe want to overpay him, just could not get a deal done just because they couldn't match salary in the right way.
If you're talking on him like a 2-year, like $20 to $24 million contract, then that's easily tradable. I don't think it'll be
a year. That's perfect.
And then so Alfred Camino for 3 said, not what you guys were saying at the infamous trade deadline show. And yes, like we like Tori already broke it down. We wanted him to be traded. We thought there's no excuse for not trading him. Like it sets you back. But once you keep him, once the trade deadline ended and he was on a roster, you have to do what's best now, given this situation. We cannot change that he didn't get traded. So now moving forward, yes, it was not the best situation to keep him from the trade deadline. But once we kept him from the trade deadline, like if Torrey was named GM tomorrow, he couldn't go back and then trade Whiteside. Now he has to change what he thinks based on what actually happened. And now keeping Whiteside is best for the team.
Yeah, I mean,
I still don't think it's going to work out, but
I mean, I can lay it down. I can lay this out very simply for people that might still be confused. The best case scenario would have been to trade Whiteside at the deadline. The worst case scenario would be to keep Whiteside at the deadline and then let him walk this summer and get nothing for him. In between that is we keep Whiteside past the deadline, then we need to keep him. Okay, so best case scenario would have been to trade Whiteside. Second best case scenario would be, okay, we keep Whiteside past the deadline and then resign him. The worst case scenario would be to keep him and then let him walk. The best case scenario is already out the window. So, like, I can't go back off that. The thing is, I have heard people say that, oh, you guys wanted him gone at the deadline, now you want to keep him? That makes no sense. But, like, they're not looking at it the right way because it's not that simple. We should have traded him, but now that we've kept him, you gotta re-sign him. Because you gain nothing by letting him walk. And if you resign him, that's still a good backup center to have off the bench, and it's a possible trade asset, whether it's a team wants Whiteside or maybe a team doesn't want Whiteside, but we can use the salary to match a player's contract that we want, and then throw on sweetener on top of that. Like, we gain more by keeping him at this point. So honestly, I think it might not be as bad as some people expect if we're just straight up with Whiteside from the get-go, because I think the problem in Miami was they kind of weren't straight up with Whiteside about like what his role was going to be, and like they would start him one game and then not start him the next game, and they kind of like changed his role around a ton, and I think that might have had a part to play there. I think if you just consistently gave him 21, 22 minutes a game off the bench of the backup center and said, go out there and bust your ass and play as hard as you can for 21, 22 minutes a game, like, he might not be thrilled about not starting, and he might not be thrilled coming off the bench only playing 21, 22 minutes a game, but like, if, you know, he has that role all season and we're just straight up with him about it, it might not be as much of a problem as he was in Miami. Because honestly, like, I have questions how much he honestly does care. Like, obviously he cares, but like, he's kind of just a goofball, you know? He's kind of just like lighthearted, like joke, like he jokes around a lot, you know? He's not like the type of personality that I think would be like super frustrated coming off the bench, if that makes sense. I don't know. Like, if we were just straight up with him, I think it might be okay.
See, I kind of feel like he thinks he's great, you know, and that he's way better than a bench player, and that's why he was a problem in Miami. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but
I mean, you just straight up tell him you're the best big off the bench in the entire league. Montrezl Harrell doesn't start. He's a great big, but you're better than Montrezl Harrell. So I don't know. Like, honestly, just gas him up in a way that, you know what I mean? Like, be straight up, but you can still like gas him up with him coming off the bench. Say, you know what? You can be the best big off the bench in the entire NBA. You could dominate second units on both sides of the court in a way that, like, you know, you can be good against starters, but like second units won't be able to keep up with you at all. You could be the best big off the bench in the league. You could dominate second units and really change the course of a game when you come in. That's a way you could pitch to Whiteside, where you might be like, yeah, okay, sure, you know, I don't know.
And Mosta brings up a good point that I alluded to for a minute too. It's like Nurk hasn't been the picture of health throughout his career either. So like he had one season, I think, where he made it through the whole season. Not last year, the year before. and he almost made it through last season before. Was that like March, early March when he broke his leg. But yeah, so having that insurance too would help, and it also allows you to kind of load manage Nurkic throughout the year. Maybe give him every like 10th game off or something, and just kind of work it that way. Where you maybe there's some games where one of them doesn't play at all. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be surprised if it worked out perfectly, but I think we have to try it at this point.
Honest question: who would you, out of these three targets, out of these three players, who would you rather have as the starting power forward next to Yusuf Nurkic? Anthony Tolliver, Mario Hezonja, or Hassan Whiteside?
Oh God!
Because Whiteside's obviously by far the best player, but he's like a terrible fit next to Nurkic at power forward. But in that scenario, I'd take Whiteside at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
probably, yeah.
The spacing's going to be screwed. You don't want those guys guarding the perimeter, but like the options are so bad that it's just kind of like whatever. So if we end up in this situation again next year where like we have the option of starting like Whiteside or freaking Tolliver or, like maybe Whiteside and Nurkic end up starting together and both are happy. I don't know.
Tolliver won us that Charlotte game. We almost blew that one.
I mean, hey, if Whiteside's playing like he did against the Lakers and hitting like turnaround fadeaways, maybe there's just enough floor spacing. I don't know. Against a team like the Lakers, it wouldn't be that bad because they already play two bigs. You know what I mean? I don't know. You just hope like Nurkic or Whiteside. If one of those guys could shoot threes, it would still be a bad fit, but it would be more workable just because the spacing wouldn't be messed up offensively. The problem is defensively, like Nurkic and Whiteside are bad defenders as power forwards. They're really like Whiteside's a good defender as a center. His stats might make him a little bit overrated. Nurkic is a great defending center. Either way, they're both good defensive centers, and at power forwards they're both bad just because it takes different things to guard different positions effectively. Main thing for power forwards, you need more lateral quickness. You need to be quicker rotating from the help side. You need to be better at closing out on shooters. You need to be able to get back a little bit more. So that's the thing. Like that's why Nurkic and Whiteside don't really work as power forwards defensively, and then offensively neither can shoot. You want at least one of your bigs to be able to shoot. So if you're playing Nurkic and Whiteside together, the spacing's just going to be super messed up. But if one of them could actually like consistently shoot and not like hit a three once in a while like Hassan has, like be a threat game in game out from the 3-point line, like if you don't have a decent option at that position, Collins gets hurt again, and then you don't have a good backup for that, or maybe the backup four gets hurt as well, then I don't know, maybe you end up in a scenario playing both, but like one of them would have to be able to shoot. Otherwise it's just like it's a debate between Whiteside and Tolliver if neither of those guys can shoot. So
yeah, I hate that you asked me that question.
I was trying not to laugh while asking it because I knew that was going to be a good question. That was going to be. I
mean,
because like if you say Tolliver, there's going to be some people out there going, "What?"
Well, actually, most of the chat said Tolliver just because he can shoot.
God, but Tolliver's like as slow defensively as Whiteside, and he's smaller. Like Tolliver was horrible. Everybody was like, "Oh, he's gonna be a 3-and-D guy," and defensively, I don't know if he just fell off or what, but he was terrible, man.
But like Holly Kelly says, I am still on board the Zach Collins train.
Oh yeah,
I still think he is going to be a legit starting power forward. I like his fit as a power forward next to one of either Nurkic or Whiteside, as we kind of saw briefly before he got hurt. But I'm excited to see him. But I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to still start Melo and bring Collins off the bench? Or are they going to start Whiteside? Are they
if Stotts, I don't know. If Stotts is the one making that decision and he still starts Melo, I will be complaining my head off. Because what do you need more in the starting lineup right now? You need defense. Like, defensively, that starting lineup was a mess. Collins is the future, and Collins is just a better fit because he can actually play defense. Melo's a horrible defender. You can't have three bad defenders on the court at the same time if you want to be truly competitive. You can't play Dame and CJ and Melo on the court together against starting lineups. You're just going to get burnt. Like, maybe you can structure where like those guys are on the court at the same time, where the other team has some bench guys on the court, or maybe it's only for like a couple minutes each half and you can get away with it. But together in the starting lineup, you can't have Dame and CJ and Melo. We saw that this year, and it was a travesty. Our defense was horrible. Our defense was embarrassing. It was, dude, like, I'm getting flashbacks of like, oh yeah, that's what happened when we actually had Blazer basketball. Every post-game show, we were on the post-game show complaining about our defense because our defense was an abomination. It was terrible. Hopefully we don't go back to that by continuing to start Melo, because Melo just does not fit in the starting lineup. Melo just is not, like, we can debate on whether or not he's an NBA caliber player, but I feel like everybody should realize by this point that he's not a good fit in our starting lineup next to Dame and CJ. That, start Collins, please. Terry, for the love of God.
I'm just afraid they promised Melo. I mean, I don't know what it'll work out.
It's 8 games. If he walks, he walks. You know what I mean? Like, he can go cry in his mansion and not play basketball because he's not a starter for any NBA team anymore. Like, he's not starting caliber anymore.
And I agree with Dizzy D. He said he would rather start Little at power forward over Tolliver, Hazonia, or Whiteside, and I agree with that.
Yeah. Whiteside and Little is a debate. So Little just he has to be able to consistently shoot. If he can consistently shoot, for sure, Little. But still got some questions. His shot looked a lot better second part of the year, but
Chris Stevens says, doesn't the front office see him as a center? I'm assuming they're asking about Collins. I don't know, because like there was that time where Collins came out and said he preferred to play center, but then last year, before he got hurt, like I think it was like in the preseason, he basically said like those comments were way out of like overblown. He said he likes playing center, but he'll do whatever it takes, and he doesn't mind playing power forward and all that stuff. But the Blazers wouldn't have set their lineup going into last season for Collins to start at power forward and have Whiteside and Nurkic. Like, they wouldn't have traded for Whiteside and made Collins a starting power forward and gotten rid of anyone who would be blocking him from playing time if they truly thought he could only play center and was only the center moving forward. And it's kind of puzzling in years past that they didn't really play Nurkic and Collins more together. But I think we're going to see that this year once Nurkic got healthy, and hopefully we see that over the last 8 games.
Hopefully they just dominate and just hopefully like we pass up Memphis. Just when Nurkic and Collins dominate and we get that AC, and then they kind of show out in the first round against the Lakers just to shut up all those OKC fans, man. All those idiots that like downplay Nurk's importance and like think Collins is a bust and people like that. Like, I'm excited. I hope those guys should have a chip on their shoulder. Those guys should be excited. Those guys should be amped up for this return. I'm amped up for them, man. It's going to be fun to watch Collins and Nurkic play together. Hopefully they start both of them. Just to see like what that looks like, because we haven't really, as you've said, we haven't really gotten to see that throughout those guys' tenure here, throughout Collins' career and Nurkic since he's been traded here. I mean, like, normally it's one or the other is on the court. Collins got a lot of playing time next year, but we didn't have Nurk, so.
Yeah. Think about how hungry those guys are going to be. They've been, not only have they been sitting out the last couple of months, but they've been injured before that, and like they were just sitting there. They were both about to be ready to come back before this happened, especially Nurkic. Like, that guy's going to be, like, crazy on this first game. Like, they're going to have so much energy, and the adrenaline's going to be high, and that's good for defense. It's probably not good shooting and, like, getting too amped up, but, like, I'm excited to see them flying around, blocking shots, being in good positioning, having guys behind Dame and CJ when they get beat on the perimeter that are actually in correct spots and not missing rotations and stuff. Like, that's going to be awesome to see, hopefully.
Yep. Why would we start Nurkic over Hassan? This is a serious question because Nurkic is better. That's just flat out the answer to that.
I think so. If you go back to what Stotts has always done, he's always been firm on not changing things too much when a guy gets injured, because when they come back, he likes to put them back in their role that they got hurt to do. He doesn't like to like punish someone because you got hurt and like lose your starting spot or whatever. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does with those situations, because do you reward the starters this whole season, or do you reward the actual starters who would have been starting if all things were equal? And the fact that we're below 500 with the Melo and Whiteside starting probably means that I think we should go back to our original starting lineup of Collins and Nurk, but who knows what will happen.
Yeah. Nurkic just came off a severe injury like Victor Oladipo. Man, Nurkic got hurt 15 months ago. Nurkic is fine by now. He'll be rusty, but so will everybody else. So he's on even ground with everybody else. Yeah, 16.
Almost 17 months.
It happened in March, late March. So, yeah. 16 months. Yeah, it happened like March 24th, I think. I don't know why I remember the exact date. Is it March 24th or March 25th? I don't know why I remember that. It was a traumatic experience, let's just say that. Yeah. But, so, yeah, 16 months. He'll be on even ground as everybody else. Like, it's not like he's, like, just gotten healthy. Like, he's been healthy. He was ready to go March 15th, and he was probably healthy and ready to go before that, and they were being cautious. So, starting first game July 31st or August 1st or whatever, Nurkic's going to be ready, and Nurkic's a better player.
Can I just say, this has been super exciting to actually talk about how the games are going to work out and stuff. Like, I'm so excited to be talking about the games instead of like, man, are they going to come back or not? Like, I don't know. This virus sucks. Like,
we kept getting asked questions about it as if we knew something new over the course of 2 months. But I can't blame people for like asking about it. But it was just like, yeah, excited to actually get back to something new, because things have been like, my mic's falling. Sorry, my foot itches. I don't know why. Things got kind of stale, man. It's just how it's gonna be during a quarantine when nothing's happening. And tried to keep everybody entertained, actually putting out more videos than ever. But it'll be nice to actually have new things to talk about, basketball to talk about. It's just weird, man. It's almost like I've gotten used to like sports not being a thing, so
yeah.
Oh, I can't wait till once this stuff is blown over, it's gonna feel so fresh and so like just a breath of fresh air, man.
I saw someone ask earlier, I forgot who it was, sorry, but they were asking if all the games were going to be on TV. I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure at least the like local broadcasts will be in play. But I'm sure that like a place like TNT or ESPN that has rights to games are going to start showing the games to make up for all the games they missed out on. Definitely. So I'd be surprised if a majority of them weren't on TV, both nationally and locally.
Yeah, that'll be dope. You'll probably have like a couple camera crews there that work games and provide like the like cuts and the feeds or whatever. I don't know if they'll like bring the broadcasting crew. You might just have the announcers at home broadcasting, and like the camera feeds would be sent to like the Portland Trailblazers truck, but they wouldn't travel to Orlando. They'd stay in Portland, and like they'd get the feeds through, satellite or whatever. I don't know exactly. You'd have camera feeds, so like they'd be able to like basically remotely control a broadcast from the cameras they have inside the stadium or something. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they broadcast it, but yeah, honestly, just it'll be fun. The coverage should be good. I'm looking forward to it. I think there's really only two teams with a chance of beating out the Grizzlies, and I think that's the Blazers and the Pelicans at this point. I don't think the Kings, Suns, or Spurs are good enough to really play their way in. I do think the Pelicans, when healthy, and the Blazers, when healthy, are better than the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies have had a ton of luck this season in terms of like not really being injured, and then having a very easy schedule up until this point, and then the season cutting off right before the hardest part of their schedule began. So I think the Kings have been lucky, man. You look at the Pelicans and Blazers, they've been severely injured. Pelicans and Blazers are better teams. You know what I mean? If the Pelicans play their way into the playoffs, like, that'll be kind of annoying because, like, honestly, I don't hate Zion, but the coverage of him and how, like, oh, the NBA wants to, like, bring the Pelicans back because they need Zion, like, that type of stuff is annoying as hell to me. So, like, I kind of root against. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I'm rooting again. Like, I'm not a Pelicans fan. I'm kind of rooting against Zion at this point because I think the NBA needs to stop pushing individuals so much and find a balance between pushing multiple different teams other than the big markets as well as pushing their stars. So as far as, like, you know, if the Pelicans made the playoffs, at least they'd be deserving because that's a team better than the Grizzlies that hasn't had good injury luck this season. You know, obviously, hopefully it's the Blazers, but I don't want the Grizzlies to make it because they've been so lucky up until this point. So, you know, if it's not us, like the Pelicans, I guess, would be the other team with a good chance of winning 2 games in a row against the Grizzlies at this point.
Yeah.
Then again, how much is Zion going to weigh? Is he going to be ready to come back?
That'll be interesting to see.
If he comes back 30 pounds heavier, he's going to hurt himself, man.
But he just cherry picks anyway, so.
True. Dude, that's the one thing. I think Zion is never going to be a top 5 player. Because, like, just looking at him now, like, I know he's young, but it's just like, dude, almost all his buckets are just off a setup from somebody else. He has good passers around him, but, like, so much of it is him being set up by other people. And I don't think you can be a top 5 player in the league if you rely on a good amount of your buckets being set up by other people. You look at top 5 players, they're guys that go create on their own, off the dribble, 3-level scorers, you know, LeBron, Kawhi, KD if he's healthy, Giannis. I mean, Giannis isn't really much of a 3-point shooter, but he's a guy who's like really, really good ball handler, and he's 6'11". He's not 6'6". Like, I don't know. I'm not really I've never been aboard the Zion hype train. So I don't know. Like, I've just never been aboard that train, man.
So speaking of weight, have you seen Jokic?
Is he big?
All buff. He's like super skinny. He's got like abs and stuff. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. That might make him worse, man.
I don't know. Yeah.
If he can if people can push him around a little bit more because he's like skinnier, then he might not be as effective. Because like part of his effectiveness is the fact that you can't. Yeah, but part of his effectiveness is the fact that you can't move the man, you know.
Yeah. But if he's in a little better shape, that'll make him better in games. I don't know.
Jokic is looking in great shape, so that's good.
So Holly Kelly asks, do you think a lot of players will get hurt because of the 4-month break? I'm assuming that's why they have such a long ramp-up period before they start the games. I mean, we're still like 57 days out or something before we play. So I'm assuming they're trying to make sure everyone's completely ready to go. But yeah, it's with only 8 games per team. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of injuries just because there's not a mass volume of games, but they are going to be pretty packed into a short amount of time. So I'd hate to see like an injury that might have happened anyway and then blame it on the format or the way they came back or something.
Yeah.
But you know it's going to happen. Someone's going to get hurt down the line, and it's going to put a wrench on this whole off season. I'm like, who would have thought Klay Thompson would blow out his ACL in the finals or whatever?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is definitely a risk of injury coming back like this, and you know, I do expect there to be something that happens that's unfortunate, you know, but just keeping it real. Yeah. Or maybe, you know, maybe this time off helps. I don't know. We just have to wait and see on that. So I just had a random thought. What if we, just as far as our live shows, what if we kept doing like Monday in the middle of the day, but started doing like Thursday or Friday night? just to like mix it up, like have one day, because we have 2 streams a week right now. Have one during the day and one during like this time. I don't know how you feel about that, but for the people that are busy during the day constantly, that gives them a chance to tune in and just kind of switches it up. What do you think about that?
I like that idea. We'll have to see what chat says.
Yeah,
I know
chat,
a lot
what
of
do you guys
people were
think of that?
excited about the later stream tonight because they
Yeah.
could see it, but a lot of people who are international viewers have trouble because it's the middle of the night.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But it's also the middle of the night at like 3 o'clock too. So
Yeah. So I mean, it just keeps one during the day, one during the night, just to keep things fresh. Because it's actually nice being able to. Because I just worked all day today, so it was nice to actually get off work and like come home and stream instead of like streaming in the middle. Because like I'll drive, do DoorDash, I'll work a little bit before a stream, then I'll stream, then I'll immediately work after. It's kind of nice to be able to like be done with that and just come home and stream and relax. This is the most I've been able to relax during a stream during the past couple of weeks. And we just don't have late night streams anymore because we don't have post game streams. I missed the late night streaming, so this is pretty cool. It also helps that we had basketball to discuss. I mean, we've been streaming for an hour, almost an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes now. We've just been consistently going, which is definitely different from the past few weeks, because the past few weeks it was just like going into streams would be, what the hell do we talk about? Eric, I know what we're going to talk about, man. We just got to roll with whatever.
What should I title this?
Yeah, dude, that was such a debate before going live. It's like, I have no idea what to title this. I think I titled the stream like, I have no idea what to title these streams or something like. Dude, I was just so stuck. And it's just like, what do I do for the thumbnails? But hopefully, now that we've gotten this plan announced, now we should have consistent NBA coverage. We can do stuff based around the return. I don't know, but I am feeling pretty good. That we got this announced today.
Yeah, that's one thing about the injuries. With the shorter timeline between the seasons and stuff, like a bad injury is going to be much more devastating to a team right now than it normally would be. Because if you get hurt in like September versus May, that's a full 4 months recovery time that you wouldn't have in a normal situation. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because you have both Durant and Clay go down in the playoffs last year. I hope it just doesn't get decided on injuries and which team is healthiest.
Yeah. Just gotta wait and see. I mean, the thing is, a lot of fans will already put an asterisk on this anyway. So if there's an asterisk due to injuries too, like whatever,
So how would you feel the rest of your life trying to defend the asterisk if the Blazers pull off the impossible here and win the championship?
Oh, I'd just say every team was on even ground. There isn't any asterisk because every team had to deal with the same stuff and still had to go out and earn it on the court. If the Lakers win, though, I'll be like, oh, they
that's an asterisk.
The NBA desperately needed ratings due to the pandemic, so they made sure the Lakers were successful in the playoffs. Which honestly, like, that's not too far fetched, to be honest. Yeah. You know what I mean? So honestly, the asterisk for the Lakers only might actually apply in reality if the NBA like really needs revenue and will use the Lakers. If I don't know, like they want a Zion versus LeBron first round matchup. You already know, you already know. But so one thing. John Wall could probably come back for the Wizards. That's interesting. They do have a chance of possibly catching the Magic.
I thought I heard somewhere that they already said no to him coming back.
Weird. I don't know why. Like,
I might be wrong.
Possibly come back in April anyway. Right now it's June 4th. God, that's so crazy, dude. Like, the year doesn't feel like. It just doesn't feel like June just because we don't have NBA playoffs. We don't have finals. You know what I mean? Like, sports almost like defines my year, you know what I mean? So it's just like, just thinking of sports, like, I forgot what month it was right now. It's just like hard to think of like. I mean, like I know what month it is, but my hair is all crazy right now. I know what month it is, but it's just like it's just weird saying it's June 4th and talking about like, oh, maybe the Blazers can make the playoffs. It's strange, dude. It's all strange.
I wish I could give credit to who said this, but there was a national media member today that said like, oh, the Golden State Warriors season officially ended in June, like always, or something.
That's because like,
yeah, the announcement today ended their season.
Yeah. Ended in June as always. Yeah, God.
But Trevin's right. Yeah, this is like the last week of school coming up too, and it doesn't feel like that at all. Like it's so weird. My son has like 2 days of school left.
We should be talking about finals and prepping for the draft, man. Yeah. Jeez, I don't know. We should be prepping for the draft right now. The draft's in 4 months.
We have so much
like
time.
The draft is normally like, okay, March Madness ends like late March, and then the draft is 3 months after. The college basketball season ended early March, and the draft's going to be like late October. So instead of 3 months, it's going to be almost 8 months in between the end of college basketball and the draft.
Did you hear what college coaches are saying?
What?
They're pissed because I forgot if it was like August 3rd or something. They changed the date to where you could go back to school or remove your name from the draft.
Yeah.
To when? And so I want to say it's like August 3rd or something. Mm-hmm. But now like all these college coaches are like, you're going to make me wait another couple months to know if I'm going to have a player on my roster next year or not.
Come on, man. That is such like first world basketball problems. But like, bro, it's not like your season's
they do need to know
starting
how many
in
like
September.
scholarships
Like your season's starting in November. Like this whole recruiting process has been thrown for a loop anyway. Like you still have 3 months to figure things out. Like obviously players need to get enrolled in school and stuff, but school starts like late September. Like, dude, just like
we don't even know if it's gonna start like normal.
Yeah, just like have like contingency plans. You know what I mean? Like they can figure it out. Like of course the date's gonna be moved back. This whole thing is just a messed up situation. Like just take the blow and make the best out of it. Like it's every school has to deal with it. It's not like one's. I mean, obviously teams with players that aren't testing don't have to deal with it, but like the top colleges year in year out are the schools that are hurt by this the most. But the thing is, they're the top colleges, so they should be able to handle this the best. Like it shouldn't be an issue for guys like Calipari, for Krzyzewski, for Self, even though Self has some other issues with compliance. But it should be an issue for those guys. They get a ton of talent anyway. They're going to have a ton of talent anyway. Kentucky is super, super deep. If they lose a couple guys, I'm not even sure if they really have anybody that's testing. I think a lot of their players just straight up committed. I think Khalil Whitney straight up committed. Nick Richards did. Is Montgomery coming back? I forget. Higgins did. Quickly did. So, like, but the thing is, like, a school like Kentucky has so much depth coming in next year. Like, a lot of these schools have so much depth. It's just like you're going to be fine not knowing until August 3rd. Like, it just seems like it's a little bit of an inconvenience for them, so they're complaining. It's just like, it's just a petty thing for them to complain about, in my opinion.
Well, then you got several of the big-time players committing to the G League anyway. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. Just thought it was interesting. Hey, is People's Mix, are you still in here real quick? Then you can say what you want to say.
I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm thirsty. I'm going to go grab a Pepsi, and I'm going to be back. All right? Because I haven't drank it really anything today. I got an ice-cold Pepsi in the fridge. I want to drink it, so I'll be back.
I'll just wait for People's Mix to say something in chat. But I saw a question. I think it was from... We'll go back and find it real quick. It was about... Oh, it's from Gavin. He asked, do you think it's ever possible for Gary Trent to start so CJ can lead the bench. Would Stotts even do that? CJ is the type of player who would never accept going to the bench in that role. And the fact that he plays with the second unit anyway makes it so like there's really no point because him and Dame have to play a certain amount of time. So if they both play 36 minutes, that only leaves 12 minutes where they're not on the court together. So like it doesn't really matter if he starts or comes off the bench. I think you're just making him mad when I don't think he deserves to be benched. And I don't think it really changes anything because he comes back in with the bench anyway. So People's Mix had a good point earlier about the Blazers 2015-16 season that I wanted to talk about in relation to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I made that comparison a couple months ago where Portland, when they lost Aldridge and the 4 starters and stuff coming off the 2015 season, they thought they were going to be bad for a couple of years, get a couple high lottery picks, and then move into a window like 2 or 3 years down the road when Dame and CJ, like right now, they should be in their prime with a couple lottery picks from like the 2016, 2017 drafts. They ended up getting lucky because they already had CJ on their roster, who was a lottery pick. They ended up having 3 first-round picks in 2017, which allowed them to move up, even though they made the playoffs, and still get into the lottery to get a Zach Collins. So even though they weren't super high, they were able to maneuver and get a couple of players that were number 10 picks to go around Damian. But yeah, they definitely went into that 2015-16 season not expecting to be good. And that kind of set off a thing to where then the next summer they overpay guys like Harkless, Myers Leonard, try to bring in a free agent like Chandler Parsons and Evan Turner and all that stuff. You overpay Alan Crabb. And all that was because of the 15-16 season. And those are the kind of things that are tough to overcome. And the Blazers somehow, mostly thanks to the Nurkic trade, were able to overcome making some bad decisions or having situations where you maybe made too good of decisions, and that made your outlook worse long term, even though it was better short term. But I think the Thunder are going to be in a similar situation, but they don't have a CJ level player to match with Shai long term. I mean, yeah, Chris Paul is better than CJ, but like he's in his mid-30s. He's not going to be around forever. So I think they're kind of stuck in a situation where it was even worse for them to be in a good position playoff-wise this year. They should have been like a lottery team, but it's hard to once they started and were up near the middle of the seeding for the playoffs. I think they were as high as like the 5th seed at one point halfway through the season. It's hard to like stop that and then like trade people, just like the Blazers that year. I mean, you could have said maybe we should have traded Aldridge the year before he left, but like we won 50 plus games both of those years and had a legit shot at a championship had Wesley Matthews not gone down. So like it's hard to just trade players to do that. And the Thunder got stuck in the same situation this year where they probably should have traded Chris Paul and Gallinari, but they can't really do that in the middle of a draft or in the middle of a playoff race when they're playing well. So I think overall it will kind of push their rebuild back, just like it did with the Blazers a little bit. But you have to make really smart moves, and hopefully you find a Nurkic level player if you're the Thunder to overcome that. But I think that is a really good comparison, the 2015-16 Blazers to this year's Thunder team. Yeah, they probably can't trade Gallo in the middle of the draft. I was reading Ben C. Darling's question on Yam Mater, and I got draft in my mind instead of playoff chase. People's Mix, I just went in on a question you asked earlier. Hopefully you listened and you're not just saying I'm here, bro, because you missed that whole thing. But yeah, Jan Mader, I watched a lot of video on him before our mock off-season draft because I was looking for second-round sleepers. He kind of looked to me like a player who was all flash but didn't have enough substance. But I definitely can see some skills there. Definitely has to improve his shooting. Can't be a smaller point guard in the NBA if you can't shoot the ball super effectively. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind, if teams take a flyer on him in the second round. I don't think that's the worst decision in the world, but I don't think he is going to be like a star player in the NBA or a great player or anything. Maybe like a bench, like Sergio Rodriguez type, a guy who could come off the bench and play a little up-tempo guard. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to watch a little more on him. What do you think of him, Ben? You've been asking a lot about him lately. I'm assuming that means you're high on him. You think he'll be an Isaiah Whitehead? That's not very good. So not really in the league at all. Maybe have a cup of coffee here with like a bunch of different teams as like a 15th man, but never actually have a legit shot. So Alvaro says they have Steven Adams and Dennis Schroeder, who are both pretty young, and I agree with that. But yeah, those guys are just like average players. Like Schroeder is a little above average, but he's not like, I don't know. I think CJ is a lot better than Schroeder, and Nurkic I think is better than Steven Adams, but that's just my opinion. But definitely some good comparisons.
Schroeder this past year might have been better than CJ. I've always hated Schroeder, man, but Schroeder kind of killed it this past year, man. Like, I don't know. I'm just jumping into the middle of whatever this conversation is, but
you've been watching too much 2K.
No, I mean, like, the dude in 31 minutes per game got 19 points per game, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and was more efficient than CJ. Schroeder had a 57% true shooting percentage. The problem is with Schroeder, his whole career, he hasn't been efficient until this year, though. I don't know.
1 year outlier. I don't know.
Oh well, I assume it's a bit of a 1 year outlier. I'm just saying, like, if you're just gonna base it on this year, I think Schroeder might have been a little bit better this year.
We're comparing the 2015-16 Blazers to the Thunder of this year, where the Blazers, they lost all those players and were expected to take a step back, but they made the playoffs, then upset the Clippers in the first round and kind of had more success, and how that led to them not necessarily being in the best possible situation long term for them, and how that equated. But like I said, luckily we made that Nurkic trade, and that kind of turned it from possibly
that saved
being really bad to like all of a sudden we're back into fighting for home court advantage in the playoffs and stuff like that.
That saved us, man.
Yeah,
because we probably wouldn't have Collins without that trade either.
Yeah, because we got the first round pick. Yeah.
Yeah. So damn. Yeah. I mean that was one of the most important trades. That was the most important move Neil Olshey's ever made. Because like you say, he drafted Damian Lillard, but I think the Blazers were going to draft Damian Lillard regardless. Like Chad Buchanan was high on him. So like the most important like pure Neil Olshey move was that Nurkic trade for sure.
But yeah, so Trevin says Schroeder averaged 23 points per game in Atlanta. He's been able to score, and he's a decent defender. Like Schroeder's a decent point guard. The problem with him has always been his career 3-point percentage. I want to say is like 33% or something. So he doesn't spread the floor. You can't 'cause like someone like Dame can come up the court and you have to guard him like the minute he crosses half court basically now, and that's become the truly dominant point guards are like that. So Schroeder is the type where he's got to get into the lane to be super effective. But this year he started hitting like, I think it was like above 38% or something on threes. What did you say?
He was 38.1, I think.
So yeah, like if he's a 38% 3-point shooter the rest of his career, like he's definitely a great point guard to have. It's kind of weird how they have 3 point guards who all played well this year. You'd think one of them would struggle with all being the same position.
Yeah, I mean, like SGA is big enough to play too, 6'5", so
Right.
that helped make it work. But it did kind of remind me of like when the Suns had Bledsoe and Dragic and Isaiah Thomas, except it actually worked for the Thunder in the scenario.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think Bledsoe, Dragic, and Isaiah Thomas would have a better chance of succeeding than when they did it. Because now I think the NBA's like gone even smaller. And
the problem is Isaiah Thomas is so small.
yeah.
So like it really puts you at a disadvantage. But like because at least like Chris Paul is like 6 feet 6'1", and Schroeder is a little bigger, and SGA is big, like you said. But I don't like SGA off the ball at all. So it's kind of
I mean, he's their future point, So the thing is, honestly, like Chris Paul might have been good as a mentor this year, but I have the feeling that the longer they hang on to Chris Paul, the more it might hurt SGA's development. Just because, like, at some point you gotta give that kid the reins, and given how good SGA played this year, I think the sooner you give him the reins, the better now. So they should try and trade Chris Paul. There's not really a good destination out there for Chris Paul. I saw somebody like say, oh, the Thunder might get Hero for Chris Paul now. Miami, I don't think, is going to trade for Chris Paul. They want cap space in the offseason of 2021, and Chris Paul has 2 years left on his deal after this year, so I don't think they're going to pay that type of money. They want to go out and get like an Anthony Davis or maybe a Giannis to add to Jimmy Butler and those guys. So I don't think that they're going to take on any like long-term salary, especially for like Chris Paul, who doesn't put him over the hump. Like, let's just be honest. They're a good team, but like Chris Paul, I don't know. Jimmy Butler is better than Chris Paul at this point, and Jimmy Butler's like a really good playmaker at this point for being a wing. You don't really need Chris Paul. You know what I mean? Like, if you have Chris Paul, you probably play Butler off the ball more, and Butler isn't really good off the ball. You need to like have a lineup that fits around Jimmy Butler. That's why I think Anthony Davis would be perfect there, because I think Anthony Davis and Bam fit great in the front court. And Anthony Davis can be a great pick and roll partner for Jimmy Butler. So like a guy like that would be fine, but a guy like Chris Paul to Miami doesn't really make much sense. There's not another destination I can think of that makes sense for Chris Paul. It's hard to find a trade scenario for him.
Yeah, unless you see a team like Philadelphia that just gets so like like in our mock off season, is that
that's what you're referencing.
But you have a team like that just like, you know what, we need a veteran leader like Chris Paul to pair with Simmons and Embiid. Like, it would take a team like that to just go all in on him, because at his age, like he maybe has 1 or 2 seasons left before he's going to be completely fallen off. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone trades for him.
Tobias Harris would make sense there in OKC, I guess, if like Gallinari walked. I don't know, but like the thing is, if they let Gallinari walk and trade Chris Paul for Tobias, they're definitely going to be worse than they were this year. But then you can maybe slot Schroeder in there, but then you still have the same issues where you have a point guard next to SGA. I don't know. Like, going forward, it's going to be hard to like figure out what to do with them. Yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be hard to trade Chris Paul, but I think they should this summer if they can. If the Knicks want to take him for cap space and are willing to give up like a future seconds, you jump on that, in my opinion, if you're OKC. But
Alvaro says CP to the Lakers. I'm sure the Lakers would like to do that, but it's going to be really hard for them to make the salaries all line up for that. Yeah.
No, it'd have to be like they'd have to trade Anthony Davis, basically.
Well, I think if they had,
Like Green and
well, if KCP
KCP,
opts in and Green, I think that gets them to about 23 million, but you're still
and then
about 15
Bradley,
million
and then
shorter. So
yeah, it's gonna be yeah. Eh. And at that point, OKC probably
that's
doesn't
gonna be
want to take
really
on all
hard.
those roster spots. Like I don't know. Like the thing is, the
Ku-
Lakers have no assets either, so it's like yeah,
Maybe they really like Kuzma.
they don't. Yeah, I mean Kuzma would have to be involved because the Lakers don't really have picks. They don't really have like rebuilding assets. But Kuzma sucks too. I think a lot of the league is kind of realizing Kuzma was overhyped his first year with the Lakers. I mean, like, dude, like Kyle Kuzma, I was never on board that trade. I thought he was super overrated after that summer league he had, and he had a decent rookie year. But like this year, in 54 games, he started 7. He's averaging 12.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, shooting 43% from the field and under 30% from three. He's shooting 29% from three. Like, how is that a good player? You know what I mean? Like, how is that a good player? People be like, Zach Collins is a bust. Like, Zach Collins is far better than Kyle Kuzma. Like, Kyle Kuzma doesn't defend, he doesn't pass, he doesn't rebound well for being a power forward, which is basically his natural position, but he only gets 6.5 rebounds per 36 minutes. He's career 32.7% three-point shooter. Like, he can finish inside the arc decently, but that's like the only thing he can do is finish a little bit inside the arc. He doesn't get to the line a ton, only 3.5 free throw attempts for his career. Yeah, just not.
Yeah.
And that's per 36. 3.5 free throw attempts per 36 minutes for his career. So I don't know. Kuzma is just so overrated. He's not good, man. He's not a good player. Lakers should have traded him before this. Lakers should have capitalized after that rookie year and used him. And I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to. Doesn't make sense on the team he's on because he just can't play off the ball and he's not good enough with the ball to justify taking it out of LeBron's or AD's hands.
And Ash, KCP, JaVale, and Danny Green doesn't come close to matching Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm. Add up the salary, multiply it by 1.25. If it's not, if it's not close to Chris Paul's contract, it doesn't work. That's how you check the math on that. So what? So let's see. JaVale's like 4 mil. He said JaVale, Bradley, and I see right there. KCP's 8 mil. Danny Green's like 15 mil. JaVale's 4 mil. So that's like 27 million. Multiply that by 1.25. That's about. I can do the math in my head. 6.75. That's about 33.75 million. Right? You just do it. Yeah, that's about 33.75 million.
Sorry, I was looking up Chris Paul. Chris Paul makes 41.358 next year. So
yeah, so they'd still be like over $7 million short. So he said, my bad, thought JaVale was 10 mil. Then you would be talking about a possibility. But yeah, so it's going to be hard for the Lakers. They'd have to throw Avery Bradley on top of that, and then they'd probably be
Kuzma.
about $1 million short. Because 33 times 4 is...
Well, this is all predicated on KCP, Bradley, and McGee are all player options, so they'd have to all accept those and then get traded right away.
Trevin, I'm smart, huh? I knew that without the calculator. I'm proud of myself. I'm good with math. I'm a math
they got 23, almost 24 between Green and KCP.
Yeah.
And then if you added Kuzma only makes like 3.5. So, yeah. But would OKC even do that? Do they want all that crap?
Yeah, you know what I mean? There's a bunch of garbage. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, Danny Green, KCP, like, those guys are kind of important to, like, a team with, like, LeBron and AD. 3-and-D guys, they fit. If they made that trade, like, JaVale's, like, a solid center, too. If they made that trade, they would get, veteran minimum guys signing there, but I have a hard time seeing them being better. Because they don't really, like, need Chris Paul. With LeBron, with running the offense through him, like, they don't really need Chris Paul. he doesn't really like. I don't think he's just kind of like a duplication of skill set with LeBron, and they lose depth. I don't know. I don't think that trade really makes them better, so to say.
I think it kind of depends on what happens in this restart. Because if they win a title, they're not going to need to trade for Chris Paul. But if they like get bounced by us or something, I could see them being like, "Screw this, we're swinging for the fences." But that'd be so awesome if they traded for Chris Paul and then AD bounced.
Yeah,
that's still my dream scenario this offseason is AD like opting out and then just leaving him.
I want AD to go to Chicago, man. That's my hope. That's my hope. Go to the East or like Miami, but Miami doesn't have cap space this year. But honestly, if he went to Miami, they would be contenders, and Miami already contended in the past decade with LeBron. So I don't know. I wouldn't really be a fan of Miami, but if they got AD, bro, that team would be scary good. Because, like, AD's just perfect. Because, like, Bam is, like, he's good, but he's still a bit of a tweener. He has, like, a center skill set and a power forward's body in a way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anthony Davis has, like, a power forward skill set and a center body and could space the floor enough next to Bam, and you could have some, like, cool, like, two-man action between Bam and AD. AD would be a good pick and roll partner for Jimmy Butler. You have a bunch of shooting around all that. Like, that team would be beautifully constructed with AD. Like, just the way the pieces would fit together would be perfect. They'd be up there with the Bucks if they got AD. If they just added AD to what they have now, I think they'd be about at the Bucks level.
Oh, for sure.
Just because, like, not only you're adding AD, you're adding a top 10 player. Probably some people would say top 5. He also just is a perfect fit into what they already have. So, granted, if we added AD, we'd be probably as good as the Bucks too. But
yeah, the best part about it, if AD left, is they traded like their entire future for him. So they'd have LeBron to be standing there with like no one left. And
well, how soon does LeBron leave if AD leaves?
Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, like, it's hopefully AD leaves, so like, we can pitch LeBron in a couple years. Like, hey man, we know you've always wanted to play with Dame. CJ's from Ohio. We know you'd like playing with CJ. We know you like the guys we got here, right? We know you like your wine. We got, wineries on wineries, man. You can start your own winery. Like, it's beautiful here. We got Nike here too, man. So you want to like be like, you want to be like Mike. We got Nike. So, I don't know. Pitch. We would have some things that unique to our area that we could pitch him with.
I think he's gone Hollywood and he's gonna retire a Laker, but
I hope. I mean, like, if he leaves, like, you come to a franchise that hasn't won since '77. I mean, it probably doesn't matter to him, but like, we haven't done it anytime recently, and he'd just be like a perfect fit. Like, we need that small forward, right? Like, God, like a couple years from now, man, LeBron wants to get one more ring. Like, Portland would be. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Obviously, it's very, very.
It's not gonna happen.
Oh, it's. I'm not. Well, a lot of people would say, "Oh, MJ's never gonna play for the Wizards," but MJ ended up playing for the Wizards. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, crazier things have happened. Like, it's crazier MJ ended up playing for the Wizards, I think. But
I mean, he worked for them and then came out of retirement because he was fed up with it. Yeah,
true. But I mean, like, it's not like we don't have things
to offer him Olshay's position.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, we have things LeBron would like that's kind of unique to Portland. Wine and Nike and Damian Lillard. I mean, that's for a small market, that's a pretty good start, I think. I don't know.
Chris Stevens said he wonders how LeBron would feel backing up Rodney Hood.
LeBron come back up Rodney Hood. God. No, I honestly think like Dame is one of the players that LeBron wants to play with the most in the league. like one of the top 3 players that LeBron hasn't played with that LeBron wants to play with. Like LeBron and Dame are tight, and I think like Dame and LeBron would be like great fits next to each other. I think LeBron does really, really want to play with Dame. So if the Lakers were just absolute trash because AD left and LeBron wanted to go find a new team to contend with, like it would be very, very unlikely. But I'm not gonna say there's a 0% chance. I'm not gonna say there's a 0% chance because like on top of that. The wider he's a Nike, man, that's, and a contending team. Like,
why wouldn't he have considered playing here in?
Because he wanted to go to LA first, and he knew he could get AD, and or he thought he could get PG, didn't get PG, he knew he could get AD, got AD. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's just wishful thinking and very, very unrealistic, but I think we would. Have a lot better chance than a lot of NBA organizations. Let's just say that, because a lot of NBA organizations would have absolutely 0 chance. We would have maybe like a 0.5% chance, So, yeah. I mean, let me pitch it. I'll pitch it, Olshey. I'll pitch it with my heart and soul, man.
Hey, Olshey managed to get an interview with LeBron in 2010 when he was a free agent with the Clippers.
Yeah, he was the GM of the goddamn Clippers, so.
And he actually met with them.
Yeah, I mean, like, where else would LeBron go, though, that, like, other than the Lakers? Where else would LeBron go?
Well, he's still under contract for 2 more years.
No, I know, but, like, 2 years from now, say, like, AD is left. The team is garbage.
It's hard to know 2 years from now.
Well, it's just a hypothetical, It's obviously, there's a bunch of factors. I'm just saying, like, let's just say he was just like projecting these teams 2 years from now, like.
Yeah, I could see him going back to Cleveland and finishing his career in Cleveland again.
Maybe he'd go wherever his son goes, but it's hard to think of like a bunch of good destinations, you know what I mean? That would certainly be better than the Blazers,
I could see him also going to like New York or someplace like that and just like trying to.
The Knicks.
As his last legacy, trying to bring back the Knicks to glory or something.
Yeah, I just think if he wanted that challenge, I think he's already taken that challenge with the Lakers because the Lakers were horrible. So I think he's already kind of like,
yeah, but
done that.
The Lakers have all the titles, and like you're never gonna be. Like, even if he wins a title with the Lakers, he's never going to be the best Laker of all time. Whereas if you go to the Knicks and win a title there, do something that, like, Patrick Ewing couldn't do. I know they won, like, in the 70s and stuff, but, like, I mean, it's been...
He wouldn't be a better Knick than Walt Frazier.
50 years. I don't know, man.
But, yeah, but... Also, the Lakers don't have James Dolan, so I don't think anybody wants to play for James Dolan. No. So, I mean, like, I could maybe see the Knicks, but maybe, like, Boston, get that team over the hump. But, I don't know. Like, why would he go to Boston over Portland? You know what I mean? Like Portland...
He'd probably just go to the Clippers. And then he can stay in LA.
So, yeah, but they don't want him.
They don't want him. Yeah, right.
Well, Kawhi didn't want to play with LeBron. Well, so they don't want him. Kawhi doesn't want him, I mean, maybe Kawhi would be. But if Kawhi's not there anymore, the Lakers or the Clippers mortgage their franchise for Kawhi. And if Kawhi leaves, Paul George might leave. I don't know. There's like question marks with literally every possible like last stop for LeBron if he ended up ever leaving the Lakers. There's a lot of question marks, and honestly, like Portland, if you just, I don't know, it doesn't look too bad. Obviously it's freaking LeBron, so he's going to do whatever the hell he wants to do. But we got some things that we could definitely use in a pitch that I think would catch his ear a little bit.
He went to the Lakers when they were crap anyway. I don't think he's going to leave them just because they turned to crap.
Well, part of it was like his son, being there for his son, and I think part of it was like the experience of playing for the Lakers. Part of it was like him thinking that I'll be able to get a second star. I don't think he goes to the Lakers if he doesn't have confidence that he's going to get a second star. If he's going to get confidence he's going to get a PG or an AD. So if he's like lost that second star in AD, and then they don't have any assets and nobody's coming, then I think that's a different scenario.
he basically like lived there though and was turning Hollywood, and I think he's just like
Hey, we
an
landed
LA guy.
Carmelo, so you know what? Carmelo's been saying good things, so maybe
Yeah, because that's
we
the same.
we re-signed
That's
Carmelo
true.
just to have Carmelo finish his career here. You know, Carmelo's retired by the time LeBron gets
It's
here, but we use Carmelo in the pitch as well. And Carmelo will say, "Hey,
it's
man, I didn't consider this place, and I wish I did because I loved it here, and
hey man,
the wine is just perfect."
if LeBron wants to play with Carmelo, Melo is going to be a Laker next season. He would not resign with Portland if the Lakers are
I'm
asking.
not saying to play with Carmelo. I'm saying
Yeah,
we
I
could,
know.
we gave Carmelo his like final chance. We were the first team to not have fully given up on him, so Carmelo pays it back by helping us land LeBron. Just there's it's a complicated picture, but you just gotta have the vision. I have the vision.
I think at that point he would go play for the Cowboys. Like he said, he almost
Hey,
did.
that would be
Almost had the
dope.
lockout
But
season.
he's too old now. If he's gonna do it, he would have done it by
I
now.
know. I know. I'm just joking.
Because that man's too old now. But the guys were forgetting the best way to get LeBron. Tank for Bronny in a few years, guarantee sign. Honestly, I don't think Bronny's going to be a top 10 pick. So I don't think we got tank for Bronny. The thing is, dude, that would be such a weird freaking scenario if like LeBron is still a top 5 player and you have a son in the draft and it's rumored like, oh, a top 5 player in the world is going to go wherever his son gets drafted. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the NBA could stop that, but it's just like if Bronny's like only like a fringe first round talent, what does that do to his draft stock?
I don't know.
Like that would be
I
so
could see a team
weird.
taking him number one
Yeah,
just
just
because
to get
LeBron promised to
LeBron.
sign him.
That would be so weird. But also, I think part of it would be like LeBron doesn't want to be on the same team as his son because he wants his son to like experience it on his own and like go his own path. Maybe like LeBron plays till he's 42 and his son is 4 years NBA veteran at that point. I don't know. I don't know the age timeline, but
Well,
I think part of me sees LeBron not wanting to like be there for his son's first year because it's almost like he has his coach, he has whatever, but then he has his dad there like holding his hand. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best for Bronny, and I think LeBron might agree with that. I'm not too sure.
well, I don't think it's ever been done in the NBA before, so that might be something that
I mean, it'd be
they.
cool to make history.
Because I mean, it's always cool that like Ken Griffey Jr. got to play with senior
Yeah.
his last year and stuff like that. That's always a cool thing that they will always have.
I think it's more feasible in baseball because it's just a different
Well, of
sport.
course,
Just the way
yeah,
baseball
'cause-
is, it's just a lot more laid back. Like, I don't know.
Well, you have players playing into their mid 40s without,
Yeah. And just as more
especially
laid back.
during the steroid era.
The media attention around Bronny and LeBron being there and like, I don't know, like just that'd be just different. I don't know. That'd be very intriguing to see though.
Sure.
But Bronny's gonna go somewhere like Orlando, like with the 20th pick and just like go out of the league in 4 years. Watch.
So Dizzy D says trade this year's first for an extra pick in his son's draft. The problem is we don't know when his son's draft will be because if they got rid of the one and done, it could be like 2022, right? And if they don't, it could be later. Well, who knows if he even becomes a one and done? Maybe he stays in college or doesn't go to college at all. And I don't know. It'd be hard to know exactly what draft he'll be in, especially after the next couple of years. It's hard to know any of that kind of stuff.
I mean, Bronny's not the best player in his class. Mikey Williams is the best player in his class. Like Mikey Williams is like noticeably better than Bronny. Like Bronny has potential, like just if he can grow to like 6'8", if he can grow to his dad's height and, maybe gain a little bit of athleticism. Like he's skilled for his age. But
I
like,
kind of like his game. Yeah.
I do like his game, but he's not somebody that's like wowing you as a freshman. Right. I saw Peyton Pritchard do just as impressive stuff as a freshman I saw Peyton Pritchard hitting isolation step backs against Aaron Gordon when Peyton Pritchard was a freshman and Les Schwab. You know what I mean? Like, I was just as impressed by Peyton Pritchard. And Peyton Pritchard's like a fringe second-round pick this year. So it's just like, I don't know. Like, he's hyped.
No, he's a late first-round pick, according to our mock-ups.
Yeah, because we have a bunch of Ducks fans in here. But, I don't know. Like, nobody would know who Bronny is right now if he wasn't LeBron's son. You know, people know Mikey Williams because Mikey Williams is really good, but like nobody would really know Bronny. I don't know. It's just kind of hard to determine like how much of it is him being hyped up because he's LeBron's son, how much of it is deserved. Because some of it is definitely deserved. He's definitely like a good prospect. He definitely has a legitimate chance of making the NBA, even if he wasn't LeBron's son. But he's still LeBron's son, so it's kind of hard to see through all that.
Trevin had like a huge insult on you earlier too.
What did he say?
I'm not going to read it out loud.
No, what did he say?
He said you're acting like, or you're sounding like someone named Ryan something. I'm not going to say his last name.
Who?
So, someone we've argued on Twitter and YouTube comments with named Ryan.
Oh.
Never mind.
Oh. Oh.
Oh no, you can't.
Oh.
No, I didn't mean to get him banned. Sorry, Trevin. My bad.
I know.
Tori
what you're
wouldn't
talking
even
about. Okay. Well, 300-second ban. God damn, man. How am I? That doesn't even make any sense. Triggered now.
That was funny.
God, I say Carmelo should play the 1 and Dame should play the 5 and Aldridge should play the 2. Come on, man.
Is that the first time Trevin's ever been put in time?
It can't be. It can't be. It can't be.
Yeah, probably not.
Dude, I completely forget about stream highlights. Oh, I want stream highlights just to be automatically made for me. Maybe I could pay somebody to do that. It's just so much work. But maybe I could pay somebody to do that. I would pay somebody to do that. Because, like, going through them all is tough. It's a lot of work. And it's almost like rewatching the video, I'm going to have clipped it up. So it's not going to be the same as if, like, somebody else made it for me, you know? So I want stream highlights, but I also want somebody else to make them. I might pay somebody. I honestly might pay like $100 or something. Maybe I'll start like a GoFundMe or something. But also I like work now, so I would pay $100 for some stream highlights, man. At this point,
where is Russell Westbrook tonight?
Westbrook was time stamping. Thing is, does Westbrook know how to edit?
He said Ash asked if he doing that, and I just said timestamping stuff. Yeah.
Honestly, maybe somebody with experience making those types of videos I would pay, and just I don't know.
Thanks, Destrom. He said he was timestamping too.
Honestly, the more you guys timestamp, the easier it is for me, man. So if you guys start like going back and timestamping too, I will definitely get back to it. I just work now, so. But honestly, like right now, so how I'm doing my work is I'm having like one really tough week, one pretty easy week, one somewhat tough week, and then one pretty easy week. So like 1 week, 50 hours, 50 to 55 hours, 1 week, like 30 to 35, 1 week, 40 to 45, 1 week, 30 to 35. That's kind of how I'm doing my weeks. Right now, I'm in the middle of my like 50 to 55 hour week. So this week, I'm working like crazy. But I should have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. And then, after Sunday this week, I should have more time to mess with stuff. But I also got to do the mock off season and all that. So it's a lot of work, man. Honestly, if I was like working, if I was consistently getting out stream highlights and doing this mock off season like other videos, I would literally never ever take a break to relax ever with how much I drive. So I don't know. I just gotta find that balance. Hopefully when I'm not working like crazy, it'll be better. But if you guys timestamp it, it does make it easier for me to go do all that. And I definitely want to get them out before the season comes back. So I do have some stuff clipped up, just not like a full video yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I might start that like Sunday night, since I'm taking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. I don't know. I just don't feel like taking that all on right now over the next 3 days.
Yeah.
God, that would be fun though. Because we have a lot of good memories, man. Memories that like I probably forgot just because we've streamed so damn much. And I'm not gonna do like any podcast. I'm just gonna do the post game streams. That's the only thing I'm doing. Isn't Patreon basically your GoFundMe? Yeah, but that's not like towards a specific goal. You know what I mean? That's not towards a specific goal. I do need to just kind of revamp the Patreon thing and try and like figure out something consistent. I've just, the whole season getting thrown into flux kind of.
Right when you're about to do some good things through Patreon.
Yeah, I had done my first like full highlights reaction, but also it'd be cool to do reaction videos for just anyone. I don't know. I go back and forth on like stuff I want to do for Patreon, and basically it's just a way you guys can consistently help me out is a little bit support just as a thank you. But honestly now it's like I don't know. I don't know. I will at some point just kind of take a step back and like look at a bunch of things I can improve for the channel maybe before the season restarts, from everything from like the stream graphics to like maybe putting in an intro in videos, putting in an outro slide, like stuff like that. I will definitely take a step back and look at stuff. Like try and just look at everything, because there is definitely stuff I overlook, and Patreon I definitely overlook too much. Why don't you have YouTube paid channel subscription? It's kind of the same as Patreon, but that is something that I do plan on looking at when I take a step back, is like the YouTube memberships and stuff, maybe switching everything from Patreon over to here. I'm not entirely sure. I just want to have perks for members, for Patreon donors and that type of stuff. So it's just kind of hard to figure out what exactly those perks would be. Do plan on doing Monday during the day and Thursday or Friday night streams though.
Sounds good.
I do like that. And then like a week before the season starts back up, should be back to like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We just don't know. Like there's probably going to be games played throughout the day, so gotta figure out. Probably just have a podcast during. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out once the schedule is released and all that. So everything's still kind of in flux. But now we got some actual basketball stuff to talk about. So that's good. That's good. Oh, I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna get up early.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody who tuned in for the stream.
It was fun.
Fun chilling with you guys at night for once. If you haven't already subscribed to this second channel, to this live channel, make sure you do so. Definitely had a better stream tonight than we have had in past days. Obviously, part of that is due to the news that broke today. I guess it's yesterday because it's midnight now. But, I'm excited to get basketball back here in a little under 2 months, which seems like a while, but we're already about 3 months since we last had basketball. So it's not too much longer, and we'll keep it coming with the content and all that. So, it's only 12 here, so not so bad. Yeah, honestly, like my hours are better now, so that's the problem. I don't be falling asleep at midnight, but I start to get a little tired. and then I fall asleep around 3 or 4 a.m., which I was used to falling asleep at like 8, 9 a.m., which is just crazy. But now my hours are definitely better. I'm definitely better now. Definitely, I'm working a lot, and my hours are better. So, new and improved, man. But now I hate getting tired at midnight because I'm used to having a lot of energy around now. And post-game streams, I always get the second wind around midnight. But right now I'm tired. So I literally just got caffeine too, and I was drinking this Pepsi. I'm still tired, so I don't understand. It doesn't make much sense to me. But, Trevin, welcome back, asshole.
He comes back trolling.
If I got timed out during the day,
right.
I didn't even read that. Oh, okay. Well,
oh, no.
Trevin, say bye
Trevin.
before I say bye before I 300-second ban you, bro. Because I gotta make a statement, man. I gotta lay down the hammer, but I will give you like your final parting comments before we say bye to your ass. Even though we're just about to log off the stream anyway, I just gotta, I gotta do what I gotta do. You force my hand. So
I love this community, man. So funny.
Gotta love the trolling, man. Just gotta keep these ducklings in line, Trevor ain't even gonna say bye. Wow. All right, I'm
he's self-timed out himself,
and then I'm timing you out for good, man. Like lights out. Good night for you.
Maybe he's like behind in the stream or something, and
yeah, I don't know. The stream isn't that far behind.
No, I mean like maybe he went back to watch something like after he got timed out or something. I don't know.
So I'm expecting some like dramatic, like heart-touching, soul-wrenching comments from Trevin here, but wow. All right. Well,
if he was gangster, he would mention something about your forehead. Oh. Did I just get banned?
Bye. Your ugly ass face is gone off the screen. All right. Well, Trevin, you had your chance, man. There you go. All right. Well, I'll catch you guys later. So will Eric and his white ass messed up white balance on his damn camera. Try to make himself look better with the grainier camera. Yeah. Anyway.
That's not what I was doing at all, but okay.
I'm too tired. To deal with any trolling. I don't got the energy for this. I think I lost a like. I had 17 likes, I swear. Trevin, I got 17 concurrent viewers, 117 concurrent playbacks. I should have 17 likes as well, but Trevin's going to be salty right now, so I'm going to go troll him in Discord instead. So I'll catch you guys later. Thank you guys for tuning in for this